Welcome to another insightful episode of the Law and Practice on Criminal Investigation in Nigeria. In today's episode, a legal practitioner, Umar Yuguda, sheds light on the crucial topic of interrogation and confession, a fundamental phase in the criminal investigation process. This presentation explores the general principle of interrogation and confession under the Nigerian criminal law, the importance of video recording confessional statement to ensure transparency and admissibility in court, and the right of suspect, including protection from torture or coercion, and the right to legal representation. This episode aims to educate legal practitioners, law enforcement officers, and general public on the best practices and legal standard governing confessions, in line with the provision of the law and judicial guidelines. Join Umar Yuguda as he breaks down key issues in the Nigerian criminal justice system right at your door.
One of the stages of criminal investigation process is interrogation and confession, as I mentioned them earlier. After squaring the scene and collecting preliminary evidence, investigators begin conducting initial interviews with the victim, witnesses, and the suspect. This stage is crucial for building an early understanding of the crime. Then, initial interview. Investigators gather first-hand account of what was seen, heard, or experienced from the witness or witnesses or victim in the course of investigation. This interview helps the investigating officers to establish timelines, identify suspects, and clarify the sequence of events. Investigators need to separate the interviewees. Witnesses are usually interviewed separately to prevent shared stories or influence over each other's statement. The investigator needs to document all what is discovered in the course of interviewing these witnesses and preserve accuracy. The question now is that what is confession? A confession is a formal statement in which a suspect admits to committing a crime. It plays a significant role in criminal investigation process and can greatly influence the outcome of a case. Confessions are very vital in Nigerian administration of criminal justice, as many convictions are based on confessional statement. The major laws regulating the admissibility of confessional statement in Nigeria are Evidence Act, Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, and Administration of Criminal Justice Laws of various states. Section 28 of the Evidence Act 2011 defines a confession as an admission made at any time by a person charged with a crime, stating or suggesting the inference that he committed that crime. Section 29 of the Evidence Act provides that a statement obtained through operation, torture, degrading or inhuman treatment of the maker, or use of threats or force on the maker shall be inadmissible. The Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 and the Administration of Criminal Justice Law of various states provides that where a suspect who is arrested with or without warrant volunteers to make a confessional statement, the police officer shall ensure that the making and taking of a statement shall be in writing and may be recorded electronically on a retrievable video compact disc or such other audio-visual means. It provides that where a suspect is arrested on allegation of having committed an offense, his statement shall be taken if he so wish. That is, it is not compulsory for him to make this statement, the suspect. If he so wish to make a statement in the presence of a legal practitioner of his choice, or where he has no legal practitioner of his choice, in the presence of an officer of a legal aid council of Nigeria, or an officer of a civil society organization, or a justice of a peace, or any other person of his choice, that is his relative, provided that the legal practitioner or any person mentioned shall not interfere while the suspect is making his statement. except for the purpose of discharging his role as a legal practitioner. Section 17 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, which is in tandem with the provision as enshrined in the Administration of Criminal Justice Law of various states regarding the recording of a confessional statement of a suspect, provides that where a suspect does not understand or speak or write in English language, an interpreter shall record and read over the statement to the suspect to his understanding, and the suspect shall then endorse the statement as having been made by him, as the interpreter shall attest to the making of the statement. Under subsection 4, it is provided that the interpreter shall endorse his name, address, occupation, designation, or other particulars on the statement. The subsection 5 of this section, as I mentioned, provides that the suspect referred in subsection 1 of section 17 of the Act shall also endorse the statement. Let me take a moment and discuss something of utmost importance on the construction of the word may used in the ACJA, that is Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, and Administration of Criminal Justice Law of various states in relation to video recording of a suspect confessional statement. The question is that, is the word may used in the statutes a discretionary or compulsory? That is the taking of a video confession, since the word may is used in the statutes. The answer is compulsory. The word may, as used in the ACJA, that is Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, and the Administration of Criminal Justice Law of various states in relation to video recording of a suspect confessional statement, is no longer permissive or discretionary but mandatory. The case of Pa vs. Pa 2010 14 Nigeria Weekly Law Report, Part 1214, page 16 to 612 at 647, paragraph F2H. The court held that whether the word may, when used in a statute, should be construed as being mandatory or discretionary depends on the context in which it is used. There are circumstances where the word may used in the statute should be construed as being mandatory, where the statute imposes a duty on a public officer, that is, investigating officer in this case, to be carried out in a particular form for the benefit of the private citizens. The word may used in a section must be construed as mandatory and or meaning shall or must. That is, it is not discretionary. The fact that the word may used in the statute, if it is imposes a duty on the investigating officer to carry it out in the course of his investigation, the word may is no longer a permissive. Recently, in the case of Charles versus the State of Lagos 2023, 13 Nigerian Weekly Law Report, Part 1901, page 213 at 240, where the court held that the general principles of interpretation is that the use of the word may connote permissive action. The court, however, will interpret the word may as mandatory wherever it is used to impose a duty upon a public functionary to be carried out in a particular form or way for the benefit of the private citizens. Who is a public officer? In the case of registered trustees of Planned Parenthood Federation of Nigeria versus Dr. Jimmy Shokbola 2004, 11 Nigerian Weekly Law Report, Part 883, page 1, where it was held that public officer is one in the public service of the government of the federation or the state. Section 18, subsection 1 of the Interpretation Act define public officer as the member of the public service of the federation within the meaning of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999, or public service of a state. Based on the authority that I have mentioned, it is now clear that Investigating officers, being the public officers, must not neglect to video record a suspect when taking his confessional statement upon arrest and detention for investigation, and failure to do so will render the entire confessional statement inadmissible. Importance of video evidence. The essence of the video or audio-visual evidence is obviously so that the court will be able to decipher from the demeanor of the defendant and all other surrounding circumstances captured in the video if he or she voluntarily made the confessional statement. The suspect also have some certain rights when giving a confessional statement. When a suspect gives a confessional statement, they are entitled to specific legal rights to ensure fairness and prevent coercion. This right may be vary slightly depending on the jurisdiction, but in Nigeria, generally, the rights can be right to remain silent. Suspect cannot be forced to speak or confess against their will. The second right is the right to legal practitioner. The suspects are entitled to have a lawyer present during interrogation. If they cannot afford one, their relative or officer from legal aid counsel or any other person authorized to do so must be present while taking their statement. Another right of a suspect is right to be informed their right is also a right. To inform the suspect is right is also a right. Yes. Authorities must inform suspects of their rights before questioning begins, including the right to remain silent and right to an attorney, that is a legal practitioner, and others. Another right of a suspect is freedom from coercion, that is, suspect can give his statement voluntarily without any coercion. Confession must be made voluntarily. Any use of torture, threat, or promises or psychological pressure to obtain a confession renders it inadmissible in law. It can be proven by the suspect himself during trial. Right to an interpreter. The suspect, in a situation where the suspect cannot understand the language of the court, that is the English, or the English language, let me say, during the interrogation, they have the right to a qualified interpreter who can interpret it to them to the language that they can understand. Right to record or document the confession. To record his confession too is also their right. Confession may be recorded, video, to ensure transparency and protect the suspect right. In Nigeria, as I said, failure to video record the confessional statement of a suspect renders it inadmissible. In Nigeria, while confession alone, if taken properly, can result in a conviction, courts often seek additional supporting evidence to confirm its reliability. Judges are required to assess whether the confession aligns with the established facts before relying solely on it for conviction. It is obvious that effective interviewing skills and lawful procedure during this stage can significantly impact the direction and success of the investigation.